Put your faith in the light.
Hello guys, welcome to another one of my videos. And yeah, I know I've been gone for a while, but that's because I've been playing the expansion so much. The War Within has been really fun. From the campaign to all the side quests, I've also leveled a ton of alts and done all the professions as well. I played the auction house as hard as I could to stack up on gold, it's the best time to do that. Anyways, the main reason of this video is because of a recent blue post. They are buffing Herald of the Sun in the form of some very important bug fixes. And this is great because Herald in the beta was plagued with bugs, undertuning, over-nerfing, and in my opinion, bad design. So any help it can get is really good. Because I want both hero talents to be used in some way or form. And well, with that being said, let's go into the post. Okay guys, here we are at the blue post. So the first change is Downlight's damage now correctly scales with Retribution's mastery. This is a really big change for us because of how much mastery we are stacking. And I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about the old change that I didn't do a video on, and it's because mastery was so good on us, Blizzard had to nerf it by 10% on its scaling, but they gave us a compensation buff of 5% as you can see here on your screen. So this is going to be a nerf eventually, but that's a problem for Season 2 Retribution Paladin. For now, it's neutral in value. As for the Downlight change, this is a buff for both single target and AoE. Remember, Downlight's damage splashes around its main target. The next change is Downlight's damage can now critically strike. This is another huge change, allowing Downlights to benefit from all the stats that Retribution Paladins had. I pointed this out in the beta and told you guys that the only way Downlights was going to scale was with Crusade because of the haste and the extra damage, while it didn't scale well with, for example, normal wings, the 20% critical strike ones. Because, well, it didn't critically strike. Now with this added scaling, this is a pretty substantial buff for both single target and AoE, making the gap between Herald and Templar a lot smaller. Next up we have Downlight's AoE healing no longer double dips with versatility. So this doesn't really matter for us because, well, you don't want your Downlight to go to an ally, because that means that it's not actually doing any damage. This is probably a nerf for Holy Paladins, but for Retribution Paladins this change is inconsequential. Next change, Sun's avatar's damage now correctly scales with Retribution's mastery. So as the Downlight change, this is another huge one. It's going to allow Sun's avatar to actually do considerable damage. In the beta, this thing did like 3% of your damage at the end of a key. It was very small amount of damage compared to things, for example, Empyrean hammers from Templar or the Hammer of Light. This thing did nothing. But now it's going to be a lot more impactful because of the amount of mastery Retribution Paladins are actually using now. So I'm really happy to see this. Remember, Sun's avatar are those lines that appear between you and your target, and whenever something passes them, it gets healed if it's an ally or it gets damaged if it's an enemy. So this is going to be a buff for both single target and AoE. The next change is a preventative one. In Sun's avatars and Downlight's AoE no longer deals damage to enemies out of line of sight. This is really good because we don't want a repeat of the Waycris Manor situation where Retribution Paladins could pull stuff from other rooms, And while this expansion doesn't have a dungeon that has like levels, it would still be annoying to pull stuff that's not in the same room with you, because that can cause wipes, and wipes in Mythic Plus dungeons are a lot more punishing now. So this is a nice preventative quality of life change. And finally, we have a Retribution specific change where they fixed an issue causing Mastery Hadler's Judgment to not increase the damage of Seal of the Crusader. So this is a pretty significant buff, especially if you're using Crusading Strike, because, well, Crusading Strikes make Seal of the Crusader hit up to 5 targets in AoE. So this is going to be basically like around a 30 to 40% extra damage buff on those Seal of the Crusader hits if you are using Crusading Strikes. And well guys, those are all the changes. And well, after that, where does Herald lie? So is Herald saved? I would think yes. These changes are, I think, impactful enough that are going to make Herald of the Sun actually viable in single target and probably better than Templar in certain situations of AoE. In single target, I think it's going to be on par with Templar. Templar still has a lot of like specific single target stuff that you can take to make it a lot stronger. But Herald is not, I think, far behind after this. It's the dot, the Downlight dot is going to be pretty impressive in its damage because it's, as long as you're hitting the main target, the boss, that Downlight is just going to keep like extending itself. It's never going to fall off that target, so it's going to be incredibly powerful. And now that it can critically strike, it's getting the benefit from everything we do. In AoE situations, I think Herald of the Sun is just going to be flat out better than Templar if you're pulling more than 5 things, because the same thing, you know, Downlight now scales with all our stats. Downlight can critically strike. That means that the AoE that Downlight does splashes on targets, you know, and it's pretty much uncapped AoE that we get there. You know, you get 2 sources of uncapped the AoE from Dawnlight's splash damage and from Sun's Avatar. Although Sun's Avatar is reduced after 5 targets, still going to do more AoE after 5 targets than Templar. Templar has still the benefit that it does its damage almost instantly. You know, you just blast your Wake of Ashes, Hammer of Light, and you're cooking, you know. While Herald of the Sun takes a bit more longer to ramp up. I think in higher keys, and if big AoE pulls are allowed, Herald can pull ahead from Templar in those situations. So I'm pretty happy about the changes. With these, I think there's going to be a variety on what you use depending on the situation, and that's always good to see. And that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing more consistent content for Red as soon as the season starts. I'm just waiting for a more stable version of Retribution Paladin. Blizzard said that they're going to be doing a tuning pass before Heroic Week and one before Mythic Plus, so stay tuned for that. And well, thanks for watching, everyone.